Welcome to Reedwood Online, a ministry of Reedwood Friends Church in Portland, Oregon. We are a Christ-seeking meeting. Today we will be enjoying music performed by Miss Shirley Brendlinger, and our message will be continuing on the theme of prayer and finding depth in the Spirit as we share with God in the divine motions within this world. May Christ meet you right where you are. Good morning, Reedwood friends and beyond. It's good to meet with you here on this ministry platform. And don't adjust your screens. Just for fun, I decided to do a comic book filter on the camera and just having a little fun with that. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about prayer and the depths of prayer that we move into as we have been unpacking the teaching of Jesus in Matthew chapter 6 on what is commonly referred to as the Lord's Prayer. When I was younger and during the hot Midwest summer months, I loved to go swimming in pools, especially in-ground pools because they usually had a small diving board, and because the water was deep, so there was even an element of danger about swimming in those pools. However, I noticed that whenever I was in shallow water, I would kind of tend to hop and bounce around in the water as young kids do. And feeling the sensation of my body's buoyancy in the water was invigorating and exciting. And as is the case with in-ground pools, the bottom of the pool is a graded, soft downward angle. And I remember how I would find just the right depth, just that point in the depth where I could keep hopping with my head above the water, but then I would bounce over into the area where the depth of water was over my head, and then I would quickly dog paddle back to where my feet could touch the bottom again and where my head would be safely above the water. I think I was testing boundaries and playing with and making a game over that fine line of depth where I felt in control and where I sensed my control was removed from going into the deeper part of the water. That is, my bouncing method no longer was effective in the deeper side of the pool. I was thinking about this because as I read and as I recite and think about what Jesus is teaching to his followers on prayer, I can't help but think how there is a steady graded depth to what is being taught. Moving from basic and general revelations about God as Father and God as Holy, a place where we've been able to hop and bob, in order to keep with the analogy, among the waters of a genial spiritual experience. But then, the next line comes into focus here in verse 10. Matthew 6:10 quickly brings us into that edge of depth in spiritual experience. And it reads this way, it renders this way: Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Thinking about this, I personally believe that this very well may be one of the most dramatic, earth-shaking verses in Scripture when we really look at it. Yet, as is often the case, we've heard it and we've become so familiar with the phrase, we've become somewhat immune, so to speak, to its revelation and to what it's communicating about us and to us. This phrase is so subversive to a complicit, self-guided way of living. It nudges us from being the center of our lives, and we are therefore plunged, or maybe baptized, into the depths of the Spirit and into the mysterious waters of divine communion and realities. The words move its listeners from what may have been understood in the subjective singular personal me or my to an objective personal pronoun, you, your. From me to you, or as Dr. Martin Buber so fittingly put in his titled work, from an I to a thou. Here is where a mystical, or perhaps poetic, approach to life becomes animated. We might want to start viewing Jesus' teaching on prayer as the great co-op, where the prayer, while having her own will and volition, is invited and drawn into the creative motions of God in life, in the world, and the universe. Here we have the fullness and extravagance of what the Apostle Paul would refer to as grace, and the Jewish scriptures would witness to as Yahweh's loving kindness. The pronouncement of your kingdom come is a realm of being that opens up that which is beyond us, yet is immediate and accessible without compulsory ritual or conjuring. It is here that God gives up his hiding place, so to speak, and is found in newness of life and perspective. It was in this same revelatory encounter that the freedom and extravagance of this great co-op that was so earth-shaking to early Quakerism and its radical seeking of the kingdom. Prayer and spiritual depth come from a human and divine friendship, creative, balanced, life-giving, and the ground of goodness that is absolute. Let this be our focus this week, to rest in it and to soak it in, to be willing to be moved from a realm of general revelation about God into a depth spiritual experience, to encounter our life and weekly tasks anew and with mutual participation with the other, with the one whom oversees and tends us in a place of holiness. Let this be our spiritual practice this week, a recital and heightened awareness of the prayer phrase, your kingdom come. And let us watch and see how Spirit will move in proportion to our faith steps, and to move into those mysterious depths of sacred communion. Blessings and God's light and peace be with you. Thank you for watching this production of Reedwood Online, and we hope you were able to commune with Christ's Spirit during this time. We encourage you to join us for our Zoom gathering at 11:15 a.m. June 5th, 2020. May the peace of Jesus be with your heart and mind today.